Hello, hello, and a massive welcome back to Fluent Talk Studio. It is absolutely fantastic to have you here with us today.
It really is.
Whether you are, I don't know, walking the dog, squeezing into a crowded train for your morning commute, or maybe you are tackling a mountain of dirty dishes right now, whatever you're doing, we are so thrilled to be a part of your English learning journey today. I am your host, the one who asks the questions you're probably thinking.
And I am your expert guide for today, ready to connect the dots and hopefully offer a new perspective. It is great to be back in the studio. We have a really special deep dive lined up, one that I think is going to resonate with, well, pretty much everyone with a pulse and a smartphone.
Absolutely. It's going to hit close to home, I think. We are so glad you tuned in. We aim to keep things clear, fun, and, genuinely useful for your English. So sit back and relax. Now, before we actually get into the heavy stuff, I have to be honest with you. I have a confession.
Oh, no. A confession already. We haven't even started the topic yet. What did you do?
I know. But it's relevant, I promise. So, we're about to record this deep dive, right? We have our notes, the microphones are hot, the coffee is fresh.
The pre-show ritual.
Exactly. But about 10 minutes ago, I was sitting in the lobby, and I realized I was holding my phone, and I wasn't checking emails, I wasn't messaging my mom, I wasn't doing anything, productive.
Let me guess. You were doing the scroll.
The scroll. The infinite mindless scroll. My thumb was just moving upwards. It was like it had a mind of its own. I think I watched a video of a guy cutting soup for 30 seconds.
Oh, the soap cutting videos. They're surprisingly hypnotic.
They are. And then a video of a dog that looked suspiciously like a panda. I don't even remember. I just lost 10 minutes of my life to the void.
You know, I would judge you, but I know that feeling so well. I was doing the exact same thing earlier this morning. I went down a rabbit hole of people hiking in the Swiss Alps. I mean, it looked beautiful. The mountains were stunning. The lakes are this crazy blue color. But did I need to see 40 different angles of the same trail from 40 different influencers? Probably not. And yet, I couldn't stop looking.
Exactly. And that is the paradox we are here to talk about today. We tell ourselves constantly, I am too busy. We say, I wish I could read more books in English or even in my native language, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah, I'm swamped. I've got so much on my plate.
Right. We feel like our lives are just too packed.
It is the universal complaint of the 21st century. I have no time. But if we are honest, brutally honest with ourselves, we somehow find the time to lie on the couch and scroll through social media for 40 minutes without even blinking.
It is a painful realization, isn't it? When you actually look at your screen time report, it's sobering. We have time for the cat videos, but no time for the novel.
Or the textbook or the article or whatever it is we claim we want to read.
So today, we are going to unpack this. We are diving deep into a fascinating conversation from the English Leap podcast by the channel Speak English with Class. They tackled this exact issue, the battle between the book and the scrolling thumb.
And just to set the stage for you, our mission today isn't to give you a boring science lecture. We aren't here to lecture you on, the prefrontal cortex or bore you with statistics.
No, definitely not.
We want to have a real chat about focus, about empathy, and about giving your tired brain a break. And because this is Fluent Talk Studio, we are going to highlight some incredible high-level English vocabulary along the way to help you express these very complex, very modern feelings.
This is all about reclaiming your brain in a scrolling world. So let's get into it. Let's start with that lie we tell ourselves. That I don't have time. Lie. Why does it feel like reading a book is climbing Mount Everest, but watching an hour of reels is like sliding down a grassy hill?
It really does feel like a physical weight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The book on the nightstand can feel like it weighs 100 pounds.
It does. It stares at me with judgment.
The source material makes this really interesting distinction. They point out that it's not actually an issue of time. We all have the same 24 hours. It's an issue of energy calculation.
Energy calculation. Okay, break that down for us. What is the brain calculating?
Right. Think of your brain as a battery that is trying to conserve power. It's an evolutionary thing. It's designed to take the easy route to save energy for, running from a tiger or something.
Which doesn't happen very often in my apartment, but I get the principle.
Exactly. So when you look at a book, especially a book in a second language like English for our listeners, your brain runs a quick subconscious calculation. It sees text, it sees grammar, it sees the need for imagination and focus, and says, whoa, that looks expensive. That costs calories. That looks like work.
Whereas the phone is cheap. Is that the ideal?
The phone is incredibly cheap energy. It's shiny, it's loud, it moves. The algorithm serves you exactly what you want, before you even ask for it. There's no friction. The expert in the source compared the thumb to a separate battery. You know that specific feeling when your body is absolutely exhausted, your eyes are burning, but the thumb just keeps moving upwards?
It's like the thumb is detached from the fatigue of the rest of the body. Like a zombie thumb. It has its own energy source.
Exactly, a zombie thumb. And the source brings up the guilt that comes with this. We want to be readers. We identify as smart people who like learning. So when we choose the phone over the book again and again, we feel like we've failed. We feel lazy.
Yeah, you feel like, ugh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just read for 10 minutes?
But the source offered a really specific reassurance here, didn't they? Which I think is so important because nobody likes feeling guilty. It's not a productive emotion.
No, it just makes you want to scroll more to escape the guilt. It's a vicious cycle.
They did, and I think this is vital for everyone to hear. They said, you are not broken and you are not lazy. You are just living in a loud world.
A loud world. That is a very evocative phrase. It really paints a picture.
It implies that the environment is fighting against you. It's not a personal failing. Your mind is tired because it's constantly processing notifications, noises, advertisements, tasks, decisions.
Just the sheer amount of information we see in a day is staggering compared to, say, 30 years ago.
Right. And when you finally sit down at the end of the day, your brain hits a wall.
Okay, we're going to talk more about that phrase, hit a wall, later in the language section, but essentially it means you reach a limit. You just can't go any further.
Exactly. You're mentally blocked. And when you hit that wall, your brain craves the path of least resistance. It wants the easiest possible activity.
Reading is wonderful, but let's be honest, it is not the easiest activity. No, it's not. It requires input from you. And that leads us to this fantastic analogy the source used. They compared the way we consume content to the way we consume food. They called it the microwave age.
This is a brilliant comparison. Just clicks, Think about fast food, a burger and fries. Why do we love it? Why is it so popular globally?
Well, it's salty, it's fatty, it's sweet, it tastes good immediately, and it's instant. You don't have to wait. You order, you eat. Zero effort.
Precisely. It hits the pleasure spots in the brain immediately, but it's also a totally passive experience. You don't have to do anything to enjoy a burger, just chew.
You don't have to chew that much with some of them.
Good point. In the source's analogy, social media is the fast food of the mind. The sound is there, the color is there, the faces are there. The content creator has done all the work for you. You are just a consumer sitting there with your mouth open, waiting for the next bite.
Okay, so if TikTok is McDonald's, what is reading?
Reading is a home-cooked meal.
Which sounds nice and romantic, but also sounds like a lot of work. Chopping vegetables, cleaning up.
It is work. That's the entire point. A home-cooked meal takes time. You have to chop the vegetables. You have to watch the pot so it doesn't burn. You have to season it. It requires effort and attention. But think about how you feel after eating fast food versus a healthy home-cooked dinner. Be honest.
Oh, it's night and day. After fast food, I usually feel a bit gross. Full, but kind of greasy and sluggish. I want to take a nap. After a good home-cooked meal, I feel nourished. I feel fueled. I feel good.
That's the word, nourished. Reading feeds you in a deeper way, but you have to participate in the cooking. You can't just sit there and expect to be fed. You have to engage.
It connects to the idea of active rest versus passive rest, right? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, assume reading is passive. You're just sitting in a chair, you aren't moving your body. How is that active?
Externally, you are still, if someone looks at you, you look like a statue. But internally, it's a fireworks show. The source calls it quiet active rest. When you read, the author gives you the words, the ingredients, but you are the chef. You are the director of the movie that's playing in your head.
Can you give me an example of that? Because sometimes I feel like I'm just absorbing the words,
Well, let's try a little experiment right now. If I say the sentence, the old man walked into the dusty room and sighed. Okay, simple sentence.
Okay.
But your brain just did a huge amount of work. You had to visualize the old man. What does he look like? Is he tall, short? Does he have a beard? Is he wearing a suit or rags? You had to smell the dusty room. You had to hear the sigh. Was it a sad sigh? A tired sigh? An angry sigh?
I see what you mean. My brain is filling in all the gaps. I imagined a gray beard, a tweed jacket, and a room full of old books with sunlight streaming through the window, hitting the dust motes.
See, and your version of the old man is different from my version. In a video, the director shows you the room, shows you the man, and plays the sound of the sigh. Your brain doesn't have to imagine anything. It just accepts the data. That is why reading is active. You are co-creating the story with the author.
And that effort is what makes it restful.
Mm-hmm.
That seems contradictory. Usually, effort makes us tired.
It's a paradox, yes. But it's good work. It's focused work. It forces your brain to single task. In the microwave age, we are constantly multitasking. We are watching TV while texting while thinking about work.
The famous second screen phenomenon.
Right. Reading forces you to do one thing at a time. It's a relief for the brain to stop juggling all those balls. It gets to just focus on one.
But getting into that state, man, that's the hard part. The source talked about the shiny thing syndrome.
The shiny thing syndrome. It sounds like a medical condition, doesn't it?
Yeah?
And maybe it is in a way.
Yeah.
Our brains have been trained by apps to constantly ask, where is the next shiny thing? Where is the next dopamine hit? We are addicted to the new.
There's a really funny and very relatable story in the source about this. One of the speakers, Anna, described her attempt to be the aesthetic reading girl. You know, the type you see on Instagram.
Oh, I love that. It was so relatable. She set the scene perfectly. She lit a vanilla candle. She made a cup of herbal tea. She had the fuzzy blanket.
A whole 9 yards.
She sat on the sofa with a thick novel, thinking, I am going to be so elegant and peaceful. I am going to be the picture of relaxation.
And how long did that last?
About 3 minutes, maybe less. She read one page, got bored. Her mind started to wander. She picked up her phone and ended up on Pinterest looking at pictures of other people reading books.
It is so ironic. It's absurd. We like the idea of reading, the aesthetic of it, more than the actual work of reading, because the act requires us to fight that shiny thing urge. It's easier to look at a picture of a book than to read a book.
And that brings us to the next big concept the source discussed, which I think is a really empowering way to frame this. Reading as a gym for your attention.
I like this metaphor. So if social media is the couch, reading is the gym.
Exactly. Think about going to the gym. You lift weights to create tiny tears in the muscle fibers so they grow back stronger. When you read, you are lifting weights for your attention span. You are forcing your brain to stay with one line, one sentence, one story.
No jump cuts.
No explosions, no background music, just words on a page. And your brain has to do the heavy lifting.
And just like the gym, the first 10 minutes are the worst. When I go for a run, the first mile is pure misery. My legs feel heavy, my lungs are burning, I want to stop.
The absolute worst. The source warns us about this specific friction. When you start reading, your mind wants to run away. It's screaming at you. This is boring. This is slow. Check your email. Check the news. Something might have happened.
The fear of missing out? FOMO.
Right. But if you can push through that initial resistance, something changes.
The expert in the source used a really beautiful metaphor to describe this transition from the noise to the book. They called it the library metaphor.
Yes. This one really stuck with me. Imagine you are walking on a busy city street in New York or London. Cars are honking, people are shouting, sirens are wailing. It's loud. It's chaotic.
Sensory overload.
Totally. Then you step through a heavy wooden door into a massive old library.
The silence hits you like a wall.
Right. And at first, the silence feels weird. It feels too big. It feels almost loud in its own way. You feel restless. Your ears are still ringing from the street. You feel like you should be moving faster, checking your phone.
But then what happens?
If you wait, if you just sit there for 5 minutes and don't run back outside, your physiology changes. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows down. Your ears adjust to the quiet. It becomes a calm corner.
That is the payoff. You have to push through that initial discomfort, the withdrawal from the noise, to get to the calm.
And it's not just a feeling. There are long-term benefits too, right?
Yeah.
Especially for our listeners who are learning English. This isn't just about relaxation. It's about brain power.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. This is where we get into neuroplasticity. The source describes reading as a workout for language structure, memory, and comprehension.
Now, neuroplasticity is a big word. We should break that down a bit more than the source did. What is actually happening in the brain when we read consistently?
Sure. Think of your brain like a dense forest or a jungle. If you want to get from point A to point B, and there is no path, you have to hack your way through with machete. It's slow, hard work.
That's me trying to understand a complex sentence in English for the first time. Hacking through the jungle.
Exactly. It's tough. You have to look up words, think about the grammar. But if you walk that same path every day, if you read every day, the grass gets trampled down. A dirt path forms. Then eventually it becomes a paved road. Then a highway.
So the connection gets faster and easier to make.
That is neuroplasticity. The brain physically changes its structure, creating stronger connections between neurons to make thoughts and processes faster and more efficient.
The source used the phrase trails in the mind.
That's the perfect visualization. Every time you read a complex sentence structure or a new idiom in context, you are blazing a trail in your brain. The more you walk those trails, the easier it becomes to move around inside your own head.
So reading teaches your brain how to learn. It keeps the mind flexible.
It does. And if you stop reading, those trails grow back over, the jungle takes over again, it becomes harder to focus, harder to learn new things.
Use it or lose it. It's a real thing for your brain. Now, we have talked about the brain mechanics, the gym, the trails, but the source makes a shift here that I really appreciated. They move from the cold mechanics of the brain to the warmth of the heart.
hmm
Reading isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's an empathy engine.
This was my favorite part of the deep dive. It gets to the core of why stories matter to humans, why we've been telling them around campfires for thousands of years. The idea is that reading allows you to borrow someone else's eyes.
Borrowing eyes. That is such a poetic way to put it.
It really is. In real life, you are trapped in your own perspective. You only know what it's like to be you. You know your own problems, your own history, your own biases. But in a book, for a few hours, you can be a father working at sea in the 19th century, missing his children.
That was the specific example from the source, right? The speaker read about a whaler who was away for years at a time. And even though the speaker lives in a modern city, has an office job, and has never been on a boat.
For a moment, they felt that specific mix of love, distance, and guilt that the father felt. And that emotion stays with you. It expands your emotional range. It's distinct from sympathy. We should clarify that difference because it's important for learners.
Okay, yeah. Sympathy versus empathy.
Sympathy is looking at someone and saying, oh, that looks sad for you. It's distant. You feel sorry for them.
Right. Sympathy is standing on the shore watching the boat sail away. Empathy is being on the boat.
Perfect. That's a perfect way to put it. Empathy is feeling it with them. And reading forces that connection because you are inside the character's head. You hear their thoughts, their fears, their hopes.
The source even suggested reading from the perspective of an unlikable character. Now that sounds difficult. Why would I want to be in the head of a bad guy?
Because that is the ultimate test and the ultimate reward of empathy. Reading about someone selfish, someone you wouldn't want to be friends with. But as you read, as you live in their head, you start to see why they are that way.
You see their motivations.
You see their fear. You see their past trauma. You see the secrets they are hiding that make them act in a certain way.
You move from judgment to understanding. You realize that maybe villains are just people in pain, or people who are making bad choices for understandable, if not excusable, reasons.
Exactly. And the expert connected this to real life, which I think is so valuable. If you practice empathy with fictional characters in a book, you start using it in the grocery store.
So when the person in front of you is moving slowly or is rude to the cashier,
Instead of immediately getting angry and thinking, what a jerk, hurry up, you might pause. You have another tool in your mental toolbox. You might think, maybe they are carrying a heavy story today. Maybe they just received bad news. Maybe they are like that character I read about who was struggling with grief.
that is powerful. It makes the world a slightly softer, more understandable place. Now, for our English learners specifically, there is another layer to this empathy engine. It gives you the vocabulary for your feelings.
This is huge. A lot of learners get stuck with basic emotional words. I'm fine. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm angry.
But humans are more complex than that. We rarely feel just happy. We feel 100 different shades of happy.
We are. We are messy. And books are full of specific, nuanced emotional words. Empty, overwhelmed, hopeful, drained, resentful, melancholy. When you read these words in a story, you don't just see a definition, you see the context, you feel the weight of the word.
So it allows you to express yourself, not just translate from your native language. You can actually tell people who you are and how you feel with precision.
And that deepens your connections with other people in the real world. So reading makes you smarter, yes, but also makes you a more connected, empathetic human being. It helps you understand yourself and others.
So, okay, we are sold on reading. I'm feeling motivated. We know we should do it. But then comes the practical question. What should we read? There is always this pressure, especially for learners, to read smart books. You know, heavy nonfiction or classics like Shakespeare or Dickens.
Right, the false choice. Should I read serious nonfiction to learn facts? Or is fiction just a waste of time? A lot of people feel like fiction is just candy, just for fun.
And the source is very clear on this. There is no correct answer. You don't have to pick a team. It's not a competition.
No, they describe nonfiction books about history, survival, biographies, science as fuel.
Fuel. Like gasoline for a car.
Yes. It makes you want to move. It makes you want to be brave. It gives you inspiration and facts. It engages the part of you that wants to grow and achieve. If you read a biography of an athlete, you might want to go for a run. If you read about space, you might look at the stars differently.
It fuels your ambition and your curiosity about the real world.
Okay.
And fiction.
Fiction provides comfort. It provides escape. It allows you to travel without leaving your sofa. But more importantly, it asks the big questions about life and love and loss and courage.
It's not just entertainment.
It's a simulation of life. It's a safe place to explore danger and complex emotions. You can live 1,000 different lives through fiction.
So the conclusion is, read whatever feels alive to you.
Exactly. Don't force yourself to read a boring textbook just because you think it's good for your English. That is the fastest way to kill your motivation. If you like dragons, read about dragons. If you like romance, read romance. If you are engaged and enjoying it, you are learning. Period.
I think that permission is so important. Read for pleasure. Now let's get practical. We know why we should read. We know what we can read. But how do we actually start when our brains are so addicted to the scroll? This is where the rubber meets the road.
This is the practical guide section. And the first thing to acknowledge, which the source does really well, is that for a tired brain, a page of black and white text looks like a mountain.
It really does. It looks intimidating. It looks like a wall of text. So the source suggests the tiny strategy.
This is key. Don't aim for a book a week. That's too much pressure. You'll fail on day 2 and give up. Aim for 10 minutes,
Or
10 pages, or even just one chapter, or heck, one page.
lower the bar. Make it so easy that you can't say no. Your brain can't argue with just one page.
Exactly. If you say, I will read for 1 hour, your brain says, no way, I'm tired. If you say, I will read 1 page, your brain says, okay, fine, I can do that. And usually once you start, you read more than 1 page. The hardest part is starting.
The momentum builds, but the setup is crucial here. The source is very firm on this. You must put the phone away.
Not just face down on the table next to you.
Why not? If it's face down, I can't see the notification.
It doesn't matter. If it is within reach, your hand will grab it before your brain even realizes what is happening. It's pure muscle memory. Plus, just knowing it is there takes up brain power. You are constantly using a little bit of your focus to resist the urge to check it.
So I need to create physical distance.
Yes. Put it on a shelf across the room, put it in your bag, put it in another room, lock it in a drawer. Create a physical barrier that makes you have to think before you can grab it.
I need to do that. I need to leave it in the kitchen when I go to the bedroom to read. That's a good, concrete action.
Another tip is to use rituals. We are creatures of habit. If you can train your brain to recognize a specific context, reading becomes easier.
Like that cup of tea example from the aesthetic reading girl.
Yes, but without the pressure to be perfect for Instagram. It could be the same time of day, like right before bed, the same comfortable corner of the sofa, the same cup of tea. When you sit there, your brain goes, oh, I know this. This is reading time. We are slowing down now.
It's like Pavlov's dog, but for books. You condition yourself to relax and focus.
Precisely. And finally, we have to address the productivity trap. I think this is a big barrier for many people in our hyper-capitalist world. We feel like if we aren't working or cleaning or answering emails, we are wasting time.
And reading feels like nothing. It feels like just sitting. It feels indulgent, almost selfish.
But the expert argues that a hobby that brings you peace is never a waste of time. And actually, reading is a very productive form of rest. It's an investment in your well-being.
They mention the pause button. I like that.
Reading is a pause button for life. It slows your heart rate. It stops the racing thoughts. It helps you wind down in a way that scrolling doesn't. And this has a real physical effect.
You mean like with sleep?
Yes. If you read before bed, you generally sleep better. Your brain transitions gently into a restful state. If you scroll before bed, the blue light and the constant dopamine hits keep you awake, and you wake up feeling, well, drained. Drained. That is a perfect transition. We have covered the concepts, the science, and the strategy. Now, I want to slow down, just as reading forces us to, and really look at the specific language used in this source material. This is our language deep dive.
Yes. The source itself did a word tour, and I want us to expand on that. These are words that you, as an English learner, can use not just to talk about reading, but to talk about your life, your work, and your feelings. These are power words.
Let's start with a word from that section about making time. Prioritize.
Prioritize. This comes from the word priority. A priority is the most important thing. So to prioritize means to decide what is most important and to do that thing first.
So, in the context of reading, the source says, prioritize a tiny reading moment. That means you decide that those 10 minutes are more important than 10 minutes of scrolling. Right. It means you rank it higher than checking Instagram. It
Yeah.
means putting it at the top of the list, even if it's short list. But you can use this anywhere. In a work context, you might say, okay, team, we have 5 tasks, but we need to prioritize this report because it is due tomorrow.
Or in my life, I try to prioritize sleep because I know it affects everything else. It's about making a conscious choice about what has value.
Exactly. Next, let's look at 2 words that seem similar but have a crucial difference. Exhausted and drained.
Oh, this is a good distinction. I think people use them interchangeably, but they feel different. Exhausted usually refers to physical tiredness, right? Like my body is tired.
Yes, mostly. If you run a marathon, you are exhausted. If you help your friend move furniture all day, you are exhausted. Your energy tank is literally empty. You need food and sleep. I am too exhausted to walk up the stairs.
But drained is different. It's more internal.
Drained is about your emotional or mental energy. You might sit in a comfortable chair all day, physically doing nothing, but you had 6 back-to-back Zoom meetings where you had to be on the whole time.
Ugh, I feel that. The Zoom fatigue is so real.
At the end of the day, you aren't physically tired, your muscles are fine, but your brain feels empty. You feel heavy. That is feeling drained. And the source makes the point that scrolling social media often leaves you feeling drained, not rested.
That is such a useful word for modern life. I feel drained after that long conversation. Okay, what about narrow-minded?
Narrow-minded. This is a great compound adjective. Imagine a road that is very narrow. You can't see much to the left or right. A narrow-minded person is someone who only accepts their own ideas. They are not open to new opinions, other cultures, or different ways of living.
And reading is the cure for this, because you're borrowing other people's eyes.
Exactly. Reading opens the road. It makes you open-minded.
Yeah.
So you could say, he's very narrow-minded about food. He only eats pizza and burgers. Or travel helps you stop being narrow-minded because you see there are many ways to live.
I like that. Next one, productivity. We talked about this with the trap.
Productivity basically means getting useful things done. If you have a productive day, you check things off your to-do list. But the key here, as the source points out, is redefining what is useful. Relaxing effectively is productive because it helps you work better later.
Right. Taking a break isn't lazy, it's a strategy for long-term productivity.
Exactly. And finally, for the single words, empathy. We touched on it, but let's define it clearly.
Empathy. This is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person.
It's different from sympathy. Sympathy is saying, oh, poor you, from a distance. Empathy is feeling it with them. As you said, it's putting yourself in their shoes.
A great sentence would be, the book helped me develop empathy for people living in poverty.
Perfect. Now let's hit those phrasal verbs and idioms. These are absolute gold for English learners because native speakers use them constantly. If you want to sound natural, you need these.
Let's do it. First one, get around to.
Get around to. This means to finally do something that you have been delaying or procrastinating on. You wanted to do it, but you were busy or just didn't do it.
I finally got around to reading that book my friend recommended last year.
Or, I need to clean the garage, but I just can't seem to get around to it. It implies a delay, but an intention to do it eventually.
Next, lose track of time.
This means you do not notice the time passing. You are so absorbed in an activity that you look at the clock and you're shocked. Whoa, is it 10 p.m. already? This happens when you are in a state of flow.
I lost track of time while I was reading. That's a good thing, a sign of a great book.
I lost track of time while I was scrolling TikTok. That's usually a bad thing, a sign you've fallen into the void.
So true. Okay, wind down.
Wind down. Imagine a machine that is spinning fast, like a fan. To stop, it has to slow down gradually. Humans are the same. We need to wind down before we sleep. It means to relax slowly after a period of stress or activity.
I like to wind down with a cup of tea and a good book. Listening to calm music helps me wind down.
Precisely. It's the transition from busy to sleep.
What about cut down on?
To cut down on something means to reduce the amount you do or consume. You don't stop completely, but you do it less.
I'm trying to cut down on sugar. My doctor told me to cut down on coffee.
I need to cut down on my screen time. It's a very common and useful phrasal verb for setting healthy goals.
Okay, 2 more. Hit a wall.
Hit a wall. This is when you suddenly cannot continue an activity. You're running and suddenly your legs just won't move. Or you are studying and your brain just stops absorbing information.
I studied for 4 hours and then I completely hit a wall. I couldn't read another word.
It means you are blocked, mentally or physically. You need a break.
And the last phrasal verb, which I love, go down a rabbit hole.
This comes from the story Alice in Wonderland. She falls down the rabbit hole into a strange new world. In modern English, it means you start looking at one thing online, maybe a video or a Wikipedia link, and you keep clicking and clicking until you are lost deep in a topic you didn't plan to research.
I just wanted to know the capital of Malaysia, and I went down a rabbit hole and ended up reading about 18th century pirate ships for an hour.
We have all been there. I went down a YouTube rabbit hole of watching videos about how to bake sourdough bread at 2 a.m.
And finally, one idiom that's super common: have a lot on my plate.
This is a great visual. Imagine holding a plate at a buffet. If it's full of food, it is heavy and hard to balance. If you have a lot on your plate, it means you have many responsibilities, tasks, or problems at the same time.
I can't take on another project right now. I have a lot on my plate.
She has a lot on her plate with her new job and taking care of her sick parent. It's a very common and polite way to say you are busy and overwhelmed.
Wow, that was a serious workout for our vocabulary. My brain feels like it just lifted some weights.
It was. But these are the kinds of phrases that take you from sounding like a textbook to sounding like a natural, fluent English speaker. They add color and personality.
Absolutely. So we have the motivation, we have the method, and we have the vocabulary. Now, we want to give you, our listener, a little bit of homework.
Yes, just like the source suggested, we want to challenge you. Don't just listen to these words. Use them. Choose just one phrase from the list we just discussed. Maybe wind down or drained or get around to.
And connect it to your real life. Make a sentence about your day, your week, your feelings.
Be brave. You don't have to say it out loud to anyone. Practice it mentally in your head. Or, if you keep a journal, write it down. Usage is the key that unlocks memory.
And as you do that, remember the final encouragement from our experts today. Reading is not a test.
No, you don't get a grade. There's no final exam. It is okay to read slowly. It is okay if you only read 3 pages today. It is okay if you have to look up words. That's how you learn.
You are training your mind to slow down in a fast world. You are building that quiet corner for yourself, that library in your own head.
And that is something worth fighting for, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day.
So thank you. Thank you for letting us be a small part of your day and for giving us your attention, which we now know is your most valuable resource.
Yes, thank you for listening. We hope you find a good book, a comfortable chair, and a moment of peace today.
From all of us here at Fluent Talk Studio, keep learning, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, put the phone in the other room for a bit tonight.
Just for a bit. See how it feels.
Goodbye, everyone.